All right, your boy Masta be here live from the MMB Radio studios for the MMB Radio Podcast, where no topic is too big or too small. We talk about them all, and I'm excited right now. Not that I don't ever get excited about any of the guests I have on, but I like to have different guests from different areas, different professions, different walks of life. And right now, I'm proud and honored to have on IFBB competitor and bodybuilder, Miss Jill Rudison. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome tonight. And I get all your titles out of the way there. The IFBB, bodybuilder. I'm sure you got another couple hats that you wear along the way.
I like to say I'm a Jill of all trades.
A Jill of all trades.
I'm an IFBB pro physique bodybuilder. I also work as a line producer, production manager on television and live events. I was the bowling champion of my third grade class. Well, that's about it. I can't say I'm a notary any longer because that expired, but that's like the titles I'm holding at the moment.
So I guess what you're mostly known for is being in the fitness world, in the bodybuilding world. At what point did you decide that was something that you wanted to do, whether it be a hobby or career, or have you always had this interest in physical fitness?
I have always had an attraction to the fitness world since I was a little kid. Probably the most influential thing that I can think back that takes it way back would be just simply watching Popeye cartoons. Growing up, I loved watching Popeye, and I loved when Popeye would eat spinach and grow muscles and then kick ass, and and that to me was that was one of the things that influenced me. Growing up, Red Sonja was one of my favorite movies as a little kid. We used to act out Red Sonja in my front yard. And She-Ra from He-Man and She-Ra, there was a lot of really random, powerful female figures that had an effect on me when I was a kid. Tina Turner from Mad Max, Bridget Nielsen in a number of her roles in addition to Red Sonja, Grace Jones. These, they were all just women who kicked ass, and that really kind of resonated with me. And then as I got older, fitness just was always something I did. My dad had a weight bench in the garage, and growing up, I would watch him go out in the garage and throw around the weights. And, I was an only child. I was daddy's girl, so I always wanted to hang with my pops. And, I'd go in the garage and lift his weights while he was lifting weights. And, I was active. I played softball, gymnastics, ice skating, all that stuff. And then actually, bodybuilding is a very niche sport, so I actually fell into it accidentally. I was actually double dog dared to enter my first competition back in 2003. And I don't like to be dared to do things that I won't do. So I did it, and I liked it. And then fast forward to 13 years later, and here we are.
Now, at what point when you were doing all the training and everything, obviously your father showed you, how to lift weights and all that. At what point did it become competitive for you? Or has it ever been a competitive sport for you?
I never paid attention to it as it being a competitive sport. I always worked out. I always went to the gym. In high school, I took weight training as an elective course, not necessarily because I wanted to lift weights, but because I figured I'd probably be the only girl in class and I could get away with murder. And I did. And, the competitiveness of it didn't really, I've always had a competitive spirit, but I didn't even realize, you see bodybuilders and Mr. Olympia, whatever, but I never really thought of it as something achievable by me. It always seemed like something very far away and very distant, like Olympia status type stuff. So when I actually got double dog dared to enter a competition, that's what really kind of ignited the fire in me. And it wasn't even so much so at that point to see if I could transform my body to that of a bodybuilder. It was more so I got dog dared to do something, and I better buck up and do it. And then once I actually did the show and did the training and everything else, that's when I was like, hey, I kind of like this. And then it became competitive because I actually saw my body change, and I saw improvements that I had never been able to achieve before. And, and I saw and felt, what it was like to get up on stage and get all dolled up and present yourself after, dieting and training your face off for 16 weeks. And, something resonated within me, and, it stuck.
Now, is that the average amount of time to train for a competition, 16 weeks, or is it varies?
Most people usually give themselves like a 12 to 16 week window. A prep normally is like 12 weeks, but if you need a little extra time, or you just want to come in, ahead of 100% to make sure that you're not trying to like force yourself, 16 weeks, I feel is an adequate amount of time to get ready for a show.
Now, when you break it down into 16 weeks, is every week something else that you focus on? Or is there parts that you've already developed that are so fine and tuned that you really just kind of focus on other parts?
I mean, most competitors, when they're getting ready for a show, they know based on their last show or their last critique what their weak parts are and what they need to work on, what they need to improve, what they need to work on, either in the off season or prior to stepping on stage again. Sometimes they might tell you, hey, you need to bring your delts up to match that of the sweep of your quads, or, you need to work on your glutes or work on your posing or whatever. So, I mean, you usually come into a show kind of knowing what you need to work on. When I get ready for a show, I tend to I work on everything. And then I tend to spend a little bit more time and effort on the parts of me that I know need improvement. And like when I first turned pro, it was, and even on the road to becoming pro, it was always a struggle to bring up my upper body to match my lower body, because I always had very dominant legs, and I'm known for my legs and my quads. And so, there's no way I'm getting these things down to be small. They're just never going to be small. They're ham hocks. It's not happening. So in order to make myself more symmetrical, I needed to build up my upper body, and that's what I did. I worked on adding more muscle in my upper body, bringing up my frame, making my shoulder caps larger, that type of thing. So, I mean, you got to kind of, you go in there working with what you have. And I just, I focus on everything, but I'll hyper focus on the areas that I know need the most work. And then once you get closer to the show, you'll kind of dial yourself in. And, when you start getting lean, you can really see, all the parts coming out and the muscles popping, and know like what you want to work on. It's like, it's like a painting. You go in when you're close to being done, and that's when you really go in with like the magnifying glasses, and you go and you put detail into it. So it's kind of the same thing.
Now, do you have an area that, I know you said you're working on the upper, but do you have like an area that just always gives you fits that you really have to do extra work on?
I mean, for me, like now I've gotten my upper body to match my lower body. I've put on a lot of muscle just from turning pro to where I am now. I've probably put on about 30 pounds of muscle, which is a lot. And I don't even realize, quote unquote, how big I've gotten until I look at old pictures of myself. And then I'm like, wow, I was a tiny little thing at one point in time. And now, I mean, for me, I struggle with my weakest point, I feel, are my glutes. And just really finely tuning my quads to feather the way I want them to, because they're just so big. And then, just kind of, and getting my shoulder caps up again. So for me, it's, what I'm trying to work on this year, before I step on stage again is really my glutes and my shoulder caps.
Now, how many competitions have you been in over 13 years? Do you keep a count?
Oh my gosh.
Putting you on the spot.
I would say probably close to 40.
Okay.
I mean, just in my pro career, I've competed in, I think I want to say like 14 shows as a pro.
Okay.
Maybe 13. I don't know, somewhere around there, which is still a lot. And then as an amateur, I probably did about 20 shows. So yeah, I mean, somewhere around 30 something, I would say total. It's a lot of tanning solution.
I was going to say, I'm very green to all of this, to the whole bodybuilding and body sculpting world. And a lot of people, they see different competitions, and I've seen competitions where the women are smaller but toned and ripped, and then there's ones where, I mean, they literally look like something out of a comic book. Is there different classes? Like, how does that whole process work?
I mean, there's different classes at a bodybuilding show, and they keep adding new categories. In a way, and which is great in a way because they'd like to include more people in it. But at the same time, it also, I feel, kind of waters down other categories because then you're like, okay, well, what's really the difference between this category and that category besides a name and, a category difference? Mm-hmm. But now that, there's bikini, there's figure, there's fitness, there's bodybuilding, there's physique, which is what I do. Now for the men, they've added classic physique, which is no more board shorts, and instead they wear like trunks so they can actually see their legs. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming year or two we saw yet another division, which is, like I said, it's good because it makes competing and it makes this world more accessible and more, more open and more marketable to normal people, what have you. But at the same time, it's just kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's stepping away from what it really is and the organicness of it. But it's okay. Hey, promoters got to make their money. I get it.
Now you say make it more marketable towards, the common fan.
Towards the normal folk, the normies.
Yeah, the normal person who is not into bodybuilding and sculpting. And
correct. Well, that or just, maybe, and I say normal person just meaning kind of somebody that doesn't want to have an obscene amount of muscle on them. Mm-hmm. That being said, like that, hence the creation of the bikini division where you have girls and they have some muscle tone on them. They're tight and they're taut, but they definitely don't look like a female bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. Then you go up another notch to figure where they have more muscularity, like they're more toned. They definitely look like they lift some weight. And then you go up, to the next category, which is physique, and that's where it's like, okay, there's definite girls lifting weights here. So it just, kind of increases with each category.
Now, what is, like I was telling certain people, and people online were looking and seeing that you were going to be on, and like some people, I mean, they have their opinions, and they say, well, that's way too much, like for whatever reasons, jealousy, intimidation, what have you. Personal preference, but is there like a limit where you want to be where you say, okay, no, that's just too big, too much muscle mass? Like, or do you have?
I mean, honestly, I'm happy where I am now. I'm very happy with myself. Would I like to take some of my muscle off? Yeah. I mean, I don't think I went too far with it by any means, but for me, just walking around and to be more marketable, I've been doing a lot of on-screen acting lately, and with that, they don't want me to be overtly shredded or ripped. So for me, and what works for me, is I would actually like to take a little bit of muscle off. But that's just me. As far as what anybody chooses to do with their own body, I think as long as they do it in a safe and healthy manner where they're not harming anybody else, whatever, man. I mean, if Kylie Jenner wants to go out and transform her entire body and face, good for her. She's not hurting anybody else. I just don't, I just think if you're going to do something or if you're going to embody it, you should own it. But as far as women, me personally, everybody has a personal preference. I personally would not want to look like a bodybuilding competitor because for me, that's not my preference. I like a physique body. I think it's great, but for me as of lately it doesn't really work for some of the acting gigs, so I'd actually like to take off a little bit of muscle, but if it weren't for that I'd probably be totally fine with where I'm at. I don't think though that women should get to the point where they don't look like women anymore because they just have so much muscle on them. I don't think that's attractive, but everybody has different opinions. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What's right for one person is not right for the other. But as far as that look embodying like femininity, it doesn't. And I can understand why it turns so many people off or people get so up in arms about it. Yeah, I don't necessarily understand why they care so much about something that has nothing to do with them. True. But I get it.
I always say if
You
it's
know?
not costing me any money, if I don't have to pay any extra
Right.
money on taxes or anything, I really don't care what people
But
do
that
with their
definitely,
lives.
but
is,
female
you know,
female bodybuilders are that's definitely one breed of people that I don't think will ever necessarily be welcomed with open arms by the majority of the community, just because a lot of people have a very distinct way they believe that a woman should look in their head. And that's cool. You know, but, you know, I personally don't like the look of a woman being overtly muscular. Like, you know, and
well, I've had people
sometimes
tell me,
I see photos of myself and I'm like, holy moly, I'm really that jacked, because I don't even realize it.
well, people say all the time when they see, you know, the women who are extra shredded and everything, oh, you know, they're trying to look like a guy, and, you know, that's way too much. And like you said, everybody
in
has
actuality,
their
it's like,
opinions.
well, if we're wearing a sparkly suit and makeup and all kinds of beauty products and whatever, and that's just our body at like the leanest and the strongest it can be, I don't understand how that's trying to emulate a man.
Yeah. Well, like
there's
I said,
plenty
a
of
lot
other ways
to...
you can things that you can do to try to be like a man that's a lot more masculine than something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it has to do to, you know, intimidation and, you know, jealousy for,
That's true.
you
And
know,
a lot
not
of people
being in such shape.
Right. And the ones that are more vocal about it or project more about it are the ones that usually tend to have more problems within themselves.
I mean, God knows if anybody saw me, I'm not a physical body competitor in no sense of the word. But I understand, you know, like you said, to each their own, however far you want to take it. But have you ever faced any kind of backlash from people?
I mean, I hear stuff all the time. I recently did a Weezer video. I did 2 videos with them, actually. I did one video called LA Girls, and then we shot a second video called California Kids, both of which were for their new album, which is called the Weezer White Album. And both those videos are available to watch on YouTube, so you guys check them out. They're a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But, you know, I mean, you know, I'm a relatively newbie actress. I've done a couple things here and there, and I went, when the videos came out on YouTube, I went and I watched the videos and I scrolled down and I read some of the comments, and, you know, like 60% of the comments were like nice. And then 40% of the comments were like, ew, she's gross. She looks like a man. That's disgusting. I just barfed. Oh my God. I'm not hungry anymore. Whatever. I mean, there was like a million things, which, you know, I mean, does it hurt? Yeah, it hurts. You know, nobody ever wants to read something that's, you know, ill-worded about themselves, you know, but at the same time, it's okay. You know, you're going to have your critics no matter what you do. So, you know, I'm sorry I can't please everybody, but I'm glad I can please 60% of people.
Well, with that said, though, there are people out there who have had, it's, you know, considered a fetish to them, that they love women that are, you know, muscular. And have you ever encountered any guys like that? I know we spoke off air, and I was saying how many times have you had people say they want you to beat them up?
The schmo cup runneth over. My schmo cup runneth over. I get emails multiple times a day from admirers or guys that, you know, want to feel my muscles, or they want me to like lift them and carry them and run a marathon with them or whatever. I've gotten some really interesting emails, and I save the majority of them because it's my intention to release some sort of coffee table book in 2017 entitled "I Feel Awkward" and other musings and rumblings from men I've received emails from. So I have a nice little collection of emails. So
what's
you know,
the most
if you'd like to be
bizarre
featured in the book,
received?
write me a messed up email.
What's the most bizarre email you've received from someone, like asking, like a request?
Oh,
something?
I had one guy that wanted me to do like a custom video for him, and he was very specific. And it didn't even really have anything to do with my muscles for the most part. But he had certain camera angles he wanted to get where you could see like my muscles like in the clothing I was wearing and that sort of thing. And it involved like dressing up as a witch and a bald cap, some other stuff. I mean, he put a lot of thought into it. Let's just put it that way. I spoke to a friend of mine who does video work like this for, a female bodybuilders. I showed it to him, and he was like, in my 30 years of doing this work, I have never seen an email that was that thorough. So that was probably the most stand-out-ish email because this person put so much thought into it.
Now, when I send an email, I'm just like, I just want you to give me a hug or something. I just want you to...
Yeah, no, he had a shot list. He had a prop list. Like, it was... From a production standpoint, it was great. I was like, that was the best way you could have ever, like, given me for pre-production on any project whatsoever. So I give him props for that. But, it was a little weird.
Now,
but, but I've also had some really awful things where people have written me and asked me to, like, crush kittens for, like, $10,000 and, like, disgusting things like that. Mostly have come from Dubai. I don't know why they like that stuff. They're weird.
I say
beautiful country, but they got some weirdos living there because they all email me.
They're very deprived out there.
Yeah, apparently.
See, now I feel like I need to go back to the drawing board. I just was like, I just want to touch your muscles and just have you just crush me, but I'm like jokingly, just like a nice little strong hug, not crush me like I'm a kitten. But yeah, I could see how that kind of is creepy.
Different strokes, different folks, my friend.
Now, when you are doing the bodybuilding, what kind of diet regimen are you on?
I tend to do a ketogenic diet, which means no carbs, no carbohydrates. Or I do low to light carbs, and then I'll do days where I have high carbs. But mostly, I eat very clean. I eat every 2.5 to 3 hours. I'm eating like 4.5 ounces of protein. Just exceedingly clean. No alcohol, no sugar, no bread, no starch. Nothing fun, basically.
Now that doesn't work though, unless you were like working out though, right?
I mean, it works in the sense that you can definitely drop some weight on that diet. And your body will function at, at maximum performance. But yeah, you definitely have to put in the cardio and the weightlifting in conjunction to that, yes.
Now, people that want to get into the sport, young girls, young women, what advice would you give them?
Do your research. Ask around. Read. Educate yourself. Don't just ask somebody what you should do to get ready for a show and take that singular person's advice because it might not be correct. And definitely don't go to somebody who tells you to take a slew of drugs. If you decide to go that route, make sure that you are in good talks with your doctor so your doctor knows what you're doing and you can get your blood work done to make sure that you're not going to die. Just be smart about it. Be smart about it. Have fun with it. And when it becomes not fun, stop.
Now, you branched off and you've done some acting and some other projects. How much longer do you want to be doing the fitness thing? Or are you trying to branch off now and strictly do, acting roles? Or, like, what are your goals?
I would love to do more acting and be that kind of quintessential person that Hollywood calls for bodybuilding or fitness roles. I would love to do that. Lauren Powers has been a woman that's kind of been doing that for years. And, I'm not trying to emulate Lauren Powers here, but I would like to take some of those phone calls she's been getting over the years for Hollywood castings and kind of take that off her plate. There's a new sheriff in town. So, I'd love to do more acting. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun getting paid to go be a bodybuilder. That's fun. Because competing, I hate to break it to everybody, but we don't get paid much. The prize money is far and few between. And if you're not one of those top 3 winners and you're not snagging a little bit of cash, there's a lot of money that you're spending to compete. So it's been nice kind of taking my hobby and figuring out a creative way to head into a direction that I can maybe make a career out of.
Now, saying that, I did some research on you because, like you said, great advice. Read up on it. Do your homework. And I saw you speaking to someone else about the difference in the pay rate between men and women and how drastic it is between men and women. what do you is there still like a stigma in the business, or is there still a struggle to get the same equal kind of
there's
comparison?
always going to be a stigma in the business, and it's not just bodybuilding, it's with anything. I mean, I think it's been, my statistics are probably not 100% accurate, but I think women are still paid, I want to say it's like 8 to 11% less than what a man would get for a job, simply just for showing up and having a vagina. You know, I mean, so at the end of the day, we're not equal to men. We're not. Pay rate's not equal. Treatment is not equal. The respect is not equal. It's just not equal. So I can't really say I'm too surprised to not see that differently in bodybuilding. I mean, Mr. Olympia gets $175,000, which I'm sorry, but these days it's not much. You know, CrossFit athletes they're banking $2 million off of being CrossFit athletes at their prize earnings. Bodybuilding's highest paying purse is Mr. Olympia. That's $175,000 that goes to Mr. Olympia. Ms. Olympia gets $10,000. How is that even comparable?
Wow.
Like, I don't know is Stevie Wonder running the math here? Like, I don't understand it. Like, that is so insulting. It's not even funny. You know, it can't even be half the amount. It can't even be a quarter of the amount. That's pathetic. I don't know what else to say, and I've said it for years. I'm like, why are the show promoters not calling more female-based companies to come in and sponsor these events? Call Secret Deodorant. Strong enough for a man, made for a woman. Call Tampax. Call a hairbrush company. Call whoever. Just call someone. Do something. Because it's a far cry from even being somewhat honorable. I mean, we're not going to be even, fine. But at least do us the honor of bumping it up to something that's somewhat respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a paltry amount of money.
You get more than that working at a normal 9-to-5 job in, you know, retail or something.
Yeah, and I mean that doesn't cover that prize money. That prize money wouldn't even cover the cost of a prep for that show.
Wow.
So I mean, you know, I love bodybuilding and I love competing, but I'm also no dummy. I'm not going to make a career bodybuilding. I'm definitely not the best body out there. You know, it's very difficult to work full time and, you know, and have other outside interests and get ready for a show. So, you know, it's tough. Like, would I like to compete again? Definitely. Do I see myself competing again? For sure. Do I know when it's going to happen? Not quite. But, you know, my goal is before I tap out and call it quits is to get to the Olympia stage. I don't necessarily need to win. That's totally fine. I'm not greedy. I'm happy just getting there. I just want my tracksuit. Once I get my tracksuit and I can check that little bucket list item off my list, I'm good.
Now, I was going to say, obviously you're probably not the only one female who feels this passionately about the pay comparison and, you know, being respected in the business. Is there anyone that you've seen that is, you know, willing to take a stand and kind of speak up for that? And is that something that you would want to take?
You know, it's like, I don't know. You know, it's like it's so hard sometimes to be forthright and really say what's on your mind and really just be honest in how you feel about something when you are expected to be a proper representation of an organization at all times. I understand that. I have all the respect in the world for the bodybuilding community, for the IFBB, but this is a blaring, gaping, almost like unbelievable problem or issue, you know, with these competitions. I feel like we work just as hard as the men do. And I understand a lot of times people are afraid to speak up and really have an opinion on it and say, hey, this isn't cool. This isn't right. We should fix this. You know, and I've said it more than once. Don't necessarily know if that means that the powers that be, you know, get miffed at me for saying something. But something needs to be said. I mean, it's an elephant in the room. We're not stupid. We all know there's an elephant in the room, so why can't we talk about it? You know?
Now,
all we're trying to do, or all I'd like to see, is my sport improve itself and the athletes be taken care of. And I don't think that's asking too much, you know, and whether that means getting involved as far as like working on the committee or helping or trying to maybe help drive sponsors or whatever it is I can do, I would love to do it. And I've actually reached out to them a few times, only to never hear back, and that's cool. But, you know, I love my sport. I'm very dedicated to it. You know, it's made me a better person. You know, I hear from people sometimes that I inspire them, which always floors me and makes me like want to cry with joy. So, you know, all I want to do is help make what we do in this industry and our organization better. So, you know, if that means sometimes having the big mouth or, you know, being crucified for being honest, so be it.
I was going to say, I mean, obviously there's got to be some type of governing body or, you know, panel or committee or something that handles that. And
there is, and they know, but, you know, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it's a business. And anytime you have a business and they do things and you have like little people that are like, hey, we don't like this or whatever, you know, it's not an easy fix all the time. And I think, you know, the IFBB and the MPC have done great things to make our sport more marketable to people with the introduction of the new divisions and that sort of thing. But I also think that at the end of the day, you know, the women make up a great I don't know what the numbers are exactly, like how many members there are that are women in the NPC or IFBB, or maybe that's even a larger number than the men. I'd be curious to know, actually, and I think I might look it up after we talk. But, you know, I think as women we should just be more vocal in saying, hey, we work just as hard as the guys, and we should be treated fairly. Maybe not even equally, but at least bump it up so we're not, like, drowning while they're on dry shore.
Now, that leads me into my next question is, what is the best thing about your sport, and what is something that needs improvement? Obviously, we've pretty much covered, you know, the equal, you know, rights.
I mean, I think the best thing about the sport is really kind of, you know, I mean, bodybuilding, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a lifestyle. It's not just a one-time thing. Like, you really get very involved in it. And I think the great thing about the sport is really learning more about yourself. Every time I've done a prep or done a show, I learn more about myself than I knew the last time. You know, whether it's learning how hard I can push myself, whether it's pushing my own limits, whether it's pushing myself to be a better Jill the next time around. I think that's the great sport about bodybuilding. It can really, really strip you down and humble you. And then it can also show you how great you're capable of being. As far as what I don't like about our sport, oh my God, the excessive use of Photoshop and just BS on social media amongst the athletes. Or worse, the Instagram athletes who, you know, have 10 bazillion followers and are amazing and whatever and have 10-pack abs, but they've never done a bodybuilding show in their life, and all their photos on Instagram are super photoshopped, like Adobe sponsors them or something. That's really obnoxious, because that's giving people a false sense of what's achievable. It's giving people a false sense of what they can achieve on their own or with some stupid BS product. That's what I think is wrong with our industry right now, is just the blatant lying to people about phony products or themselves, and just, you know, photoshopping your pictures. Like, it's just giving people a very blurred reality of what's feasible or achievable by working out, and that's terrible. I think that's really terrible.
I was gonna say,
especially when you have numerous amounts of followers, you have a responsibility to be honest.
No, I noticed I'm just, you know, scrolling through Instagram. I used to always see these things for like this fitness tea.
And, skinny bunny tea and all that crap. Yeah.
And like, how, like, does this stuff really work? And then,
yeah, plastic wrap and skinny bunny tea. It's the answer to everything you've ever needed.
Yeah. It's amazing that it took to the year 2016 for us to figure that out, you know.
Yeah.
That's something we could have figured out a lot sooner.
Right.
But speaking of Instagram and online, you have a huge social media presence. Where can people find you at online? They
can find me online at, I'm very simple, Jill Rudison. MMBRadio.com. That's my website, which needs massive updating, so please be patient. However, you can also follow my daily activities on Instagram, which is at Jill Rudison, JILLRUDISON. You can follow me on Snapchat at Jill Rudison. You can follow me on Facebook on my athlete page, which is Jill Rudison, IFBB Pro. Where else am I? Twitter. Very vocal on Twitter. You can follow me there at Jill Rudison. So basically everywhere at Jill Rudison. I've made it very simple for people to find me.
It makes it a lot easier when you're able to market it as just one thing. You don't have to have special names for everything. The real Jill Rudison.
I don't have a common name, and there's not a whole lot of Jills. So there you go.
Exactly. Well, we appreciate you taking some time to kind of talk to us a little bit. Is there anything that you want the fans to know, or any final words you have for everybody that's listening?
Let's see. Just keep an eye out for me. There's a movie I just wrapped up filming for a few weeks ago. It's an independent feature film called Kiss Kiss, featuring myself and a slew of very beautiful women, some of whom I have some great fight scenes with. That should be coming out in about 2 to 3 months. So keep an eye out for that. I think we're coming straight out to Redbox. I'm not sure, but hopefully we're going to be in some film festivals and stuff. It's a great movie. So just keep an eye out for that, and then follow me on my Twitter and my Instagram to see all my crazy shenanigans. I think I'm pretty funny.
We were talking off air, and it was hilarious the way we were going back and forth through email. Like I said, I found you out on Twitter, and hopefully everybody else follows you on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and check out JillRudison.com. And like she said, be patient. It's a work in progress. It's like the bodybuilding. It's not a sprint. It's a
That's
marathon.
all we all are. We're all just works in progress.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time to talk to us, and make sure you check her out in the Weezer videos, and look out for Kiss Kiss real soon. And much success to you.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bye. Hey, guys, this is Jill Rudison. You're listening to Mixmaster B on MMB Radio.